So again, I have muted everybody. If you do have any questions, though, I will be monitoring the chat. You can reach that chat by hitting Alt and H on your keyboard. You can either chat to me directly or put it out to the public. Either way is fine. We're going to get started here by going into race management. It's going to take me to the next event that I have. We're going to be working in this 410 wing sprint class right here for today. Now, the way that I'm going to be setting up this lineup, I'm going to be using passing points, and to get the initial heat for that, I'm just going to use pill draw. We have a variety of different ways to do pill draw. The way I'm going to be doing is just the fast check-in process, which is just going to draw a number for me automatically. But we also have an option here where I can have the driver select a number, and this is before I pick a driver. This is the one where the driver will check in a driver, and then they can press a button. And we also have some manual entry of numbers. I also can adjust the maximum pill numbers here. By default, it's going to go to 100, but you can change that to as high or as low as you want. And I can also rebase the pill, which means I set a brand new low number for that pill. So if I had, for example, if I had 50 set there, 50 would be the best number I could draw, and 49 would be the worst. You're also having the capability here to set a default option with those. I need to get my Westhold up here. Cool. So we have a default option here. So I've set some of these defaults here and what I'm going to be doing. But if you change that, you're also able to select this button, select your default configurations. We're also going to be able to do the transponder integration. I'm going to be showing Westhold today. And with that, I'm going to choose to use transponders here and allow rentals for those transponders. So in general, this isn't the page that you'll probably go to too often once you get the default set, but I'm just going to go over everything here and just show you how to do a typical night and set all that up here. So we're going to move right on down into MRP Live. I am going to be using Westhold today, as I've stated. So I have Race Manager open here. I'm going to do something that I'm just going to clear out my assignments path here. If you have old races in here, because when I'm be sending the lineups here from that, it's going to put them in here, so I don't want to get confused. So I'm going to remove all of these excess lineups in my assignments path. I'll show you what I mean by that here. When I hit launch from web, it's going to launch MRP Live. If you need to download it, you can also download it right here on this page. And mine's going to connect for me automatically. So I'm going to show you, I already have all the settings set up, but I'm going to show you what I did to get that. We have a couple of different numbers that we have to fill out. So this first one here in network broadcast control, this number right here, this is my IP address. So I've actually copied that and put that here. I also have the TCP IP port, which is right here, and I've matched that up. So I've copied it and put it into here. And I've also have this enable network button hit here. The next thing it's going to ask for is the MRP Live code. When I hit launch from web, that actually pulled that in there for me. This is going to be what ties it into a specific day. The last thing I'll need is this assignments path. This is going to be where those files are going to be sent to, which for Westhold is going to be an assign under Race Manager. In general, a lot of the times you won't need to change these top two sets of data. And if you have the MRP Live connection code up and ready to go here, and you hit launch from web, it should connect for you. So you really don't have to do setup too often. But what I'm going to be doing too is just, let's say I have extra numbers here, show you some of the error codes. So it's going to, if you see invalid, then we know that that's not right. If I was to put in, let's put in a 2, it's not going to find anything. So it's going to spin and connect. I'm going to show you some of the error codes. So if you see something like like this where it's going to spin and it's going to tell me something to the effect that it's not going to find a broadcast in on this IP address. Let's going to try to find it because it's super close. But we're going to, yep. So it's going to see this, and it's going to ask me to verify that IP address and port number. So I'm going to want to go back in here, double check it, make sure this is good. And what we're going to want to see is this screen right here. In general, it'll just pop up those screens. And when it does, we're just going to double check all of our numbers and make sure that that's correct. We're going to get back to MRP Live in just a second. We're going to go through, once we get done with lineups, we're going to show you how that connection will work. I highly recommend going through before the day starts though, and before you start racing, going and connecting MRP Live before you start adding in entries, just to make sure everything's good there. And like I said, you can connect it and kind of walk away from it. And it's good for, I think it'll time out after around 6 hours. So generally, if you do it, before you start racing, you'll be fine there. And that's 6 hours of no activity if you're just doing nothing. So you're pretty good there. So we're going to go into entries. Our entry list is populated based on a couple of different things. We can have online registration up and active, and that'll actually pull in drivers here for me. And if you want to see what I mean here, it's going to actually put them into the driver list. So you can see here, manage drivers. I'm just going to work in this 410 class. This is the driver list that it's working off of. I can also, before a race, if I know something's going to happen, I can put in, I can add in new drivers up here. I can also change the default transponder numbers. So if I want BJ Buffalo to be the 1010, we can update it here. We can also do it in the race, but you do have this option here to do that here. So you can see my list of drivers. So we have everybody listed on here. We can just click a driver, or since this list is kind of big, I can just sort it out. So I'll use BJ Buffalo here. Let's add it to him. So you can see it put in his default car number here. We have a default, we have not a default pill, but we have a pill drawn for him. It picked one out because of how I told it to do it. We can put in an owner for him here. I'll use a car with an owner. I'll add that one next. Show you what that process looks like. We also have his default transponder. If we click on this here, you can actually see all the other transponder numbers that he's used. So you can see he has you can see all that right here. We also have a lineup override. So we can set him to the back of all heats or all races. So right now, he'll probably be sitting towards the middle, but if he was a rookie and didn't feel comfortable with that, we could set him to the back of every heat. Or, if he just showed up late, we could set him to the back there. We'll click him, we'll check him in. He has this gold helmet here next to his name. I'll explain a little bit more what that means in a bit. We're going to use a different driver here to show some other things here. So Chuck, I know, already has one. He's extremely lucky. We also have his address on file, and he's completed my online registration. So you can see that right there, that he did register. So we have all of his information there because of that. We can click on him, add in that transponder, and we'll enter in owner information. So you can see here, he actually has quite a few different owners in the system. We can also see all of the owners that we had in general, just at my track, or I can add a brand new one here. But we're going to use what he used yesterday. We're going to put the payout to go to the owner here. And this seems like it's going to be a long-term deal, so we're going to set it as a default arrangement that the March team payout's going to go to owner, and it's going to be the default here. We can do the same with the transponder too, if we'd like. We also can mark if it was rented. We'll check him in. So that's not the only way that we have to enter in drivers, though. I could definitely keep going this way, but we could also import from a previous race. So if I wanted to import from yesterday's list of drivers, I can. say I was doing a 2-day show, for example, I could just import a few of these drivers over, copy over their pill numbers and their transponder numbers, which I'm going to do. Import those over. This is another way we can enter them in. I'll leave this one open here so you can see what that draw window looks like if they're drawing here. So we can just click and draw. And it's good to go here. So you're going to notice that all of my drivers have claimed their profiles. So a driver that claims their profile has a lot of cool things that they can do. They get to share their photos and videos, news about themselves. It's basically kind of like a Facebook page specifically for drivers. They also can share their schedule, and I'll copy over the results here if they say they're racing on my track. But another cool thing that they have access to is in the MyRacePass app, they get a special barcode if they log in using that. So you can see up here at the top where I have that scan barcode. If you have a scanner you can hook up to your computer, we have one that we recommend that I can put in the chat there for you. I'll show you where to find that too, and I'll also put it in the chat. But you can actually scan them, and then that'll actually put them in here for you, which has a lot of really cool benefits. For one, it cuts down on time since we don't have to search for anybody, and it'll also help stop any duplication. Since the driver should only have one profile, it'll cut down on that, and you can scan in with their phone, and hopefully drivers are much less likely to lose their phone. So let's get that. I'll show you here. I'm going to refer back to this a couple different times. This is going to be right down here. This is going to bring us to the help desk. And right up here in the race management, it has that barcode scanners. It has a couple different ones that we recommend. This one right here is one that we're pretty fond of. You can see that you can get that one on Amazon Prime. I'm going to put that into the chat window. Again, if you do have any questions, I'm going to say again, you can hit Alt and H, and it doesn't necessarily have to be about anything that I'm going over right now. I am going to get to all of the questions here as we go through. So if you do have any questions about something you'd like to see here soon, let me know. We'll go over that. And I'll also have time for questions at the end too. But don't be afraid to ask any of those questions there. So we're going to enter in more drivers. Another way that we can do that is this search up here. What the search would be for is, let's say, for whatever reason, I'm going to look and try to find a driver, and he is just not there. We can actually search throughout the entire MyRacePass network and find that driver. So Bruce Wayne here from Gotham, Hawaii. We're also able to add in a brand new driver if the driver doesn't exist here. So you got that right down here. A couple things that I'll say about adding in drivers is that you're going to want to, first, I would recommend using the filter first. The filter is going to go through your drivers specifically. And also when you're using the filter, it'll search by first and last name or car number too, if you have a default car number. I always recommend just going by last name, generally because first names can change. Harry Hare, for example, say he just wants to go by his birth name of Harold Hare. So if you tried to look for Harold in there, you're not going to find it because he's listed as Harry. But if you search for Harry, you're going to find that. So always look, if you can, for last name first. That's going to be kind of a better way of doing that. Also, it's going to require that you put in a hometown for every single driver. The reason we're doing that is, one, we just have better information and fans can find out more about their favorite drivers. But also, if you try adding in any of these drivers here with that same hometown, it's going to know something's up. And it's going to say, hey, I'll show you exactly what happens, actually. So if we try BJ Buffalo, and it's going to tell me there's a BJ Buffalo from Obo, Missouri. Yep, so you can see Obo, Missouri. And we try to create them. It's going to say, hey, somebody already exists, and we're going to want to use this driver instead. So that's another thing that we have there to catch that. The last thing we're going to be doing here is the speed entry button. And with the speed entry button, it's just going to check them in without that screen there. And I'll actually go, as long as I don't have a duplicate car number or a duplicate transponder, duplicate transponder number, we'll be good to go. So I'm going to be entering in the driver car numbers here, the driver transponder numbers here. For this demonstration, I do need to have pretty specific numbers. But again, if you have any questions, Alt and H is the chat window for that. Feel free to ask any questions that you have about the entry list or anything else here, and I'll be happy to answer those. For now, we're going to be moving right along into the races right over here. So you're going to notice that we have previous races set up here. So this is all the previous races for my class. We have the last 50 races here. So you can even see that I had one a year ago. But we can add those, a previous setup, which will copy the transfers, everything over, or we can just add more races here. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add in one heat and one A feature, but I can do more if I'd like. I can add in more types of heats here, just another heat. I can add in the laps, how many go to tech, and same with my A feature. I can also go down for features all the way down to a Z feature, and I can do dashes, qualifying, specials, and hot laps all the way on down. But we're going to click add. That's going to add them in here. And the main thing that we're going to want to do on this page is the transfers. So today, instead of doing the per race, which is what it's going to default to, we're going to do from group. So from group transfers, essentially we'll transfer as a group of drivers. So what we're going to be doing here is I'm going to take the top 10 from group, which is my best 10 drivers in passing points. For me, that's everybody. If I did per race, that would take it out of every race. So the best example I have here is that 10 from group is just going to be 10 here. 10 per race would be 20 drivers, because that's 10 out of this heat, 10 out of this heat. I'm going to get rid of this here. I also showed that, yep, you could add more heats here. We could also add in more races if we need to. We're also able to rename these races and put in sponsors for these races right here. The last thing I'm going to show on this page is that we can also go per row. So we can go 1, 2, or 3 per row, as wide or as small as we want. By default, it's going to go for 2 for pretty much everything except for qualifying and hot laps. It's going to default to 1, but we could always change that if we'd like. I'm going to save this here. We should be good to go. And now we're going to go into our lineups. So here in our lineups, we could certainly just click drivers and enter them in manually if we wanted to. We're also able to X them out of here. But a faster way to do that, if we hit calculate lineups, we're going to calculate from our pill draw that we just did. So the first time you do this, it's going to want to know here, it's going to have this option to take you to this screen right here. So you can see these are all of the different A features that we have, all of the different B features, C's, heats, and I've selected the ones that I'm more likely to use, since there's just a ton of different lineups here, and it'd be a little unwieldy if we had them all out here. So we do have heat from pill draw right here. That's one of them I selected. If you do need to pick one that's different, we could just go from here. We're just going to select that here, and they're ordered here by their pill draw. We can actually select this here. How is this calculated? It's going to show me right here why everyone was put where they're put. We're also able to move a driver around. So if this driver here, we just can click and drag him if we wanted to. We're able to share this to Facebook and Twitter. And as well, when we created those lineups, it has an option here for set lineups to public. As soon as I calculated that with that checked, that also goes to the MyRacePass app, and it also goes to our website if you have a MyRacePass website. Other options that we have here on this screen, we can go to the lineup monitor. And with that lineup monitor, we could put this up on a different screen, and we can have this set up in the pits so that your drivers can see all this this information here. So as I'm creating lineups, this will actually pop up the new lineups here. As those are done, as we put in results, those will move out of the way so that we can show the more current lineups. So you can have this instead of a chalkboard or anything else out in the pits. You can have this, and as I said, in the MyRacePass app for free, fans and drivers would be able to download that app and view the lineups and results and points right there from their phone. So it's a really awesome thing that they could be able to take advantage of. We also now can send lineups. So this is where MRP Live is going to come into play. So we're going to send those lineups. The lineups are sent here, and we can go into Race Manager. Here in our assignments path, we have Heat 1. Has everyone listed out here based on how I've set them up. We can go into timing, and I'm going to show you here. This would be what fans could see in the MyRacePass app as they have the live timing set up. So we're going to start this race. It's going to show them here. So let's move this out of the way. Pretty good fit. And it's going to update with this information as the lap goes by. If we wanted to follow our favorite driver, we could just click them. Or we can just double check here. I like to have this screen open and just double checking everything. It's nice to have just to make sure that your transponder integration is working out and your fans can see that. It also is keeping track. I put that lap in there, so it's going to show that here, and it's going to end that for me here. So as soon as I hit stop, that's sort of our cue here that when we go to results, it's going to have this available to import in. So we're going to be able to import this right here. And we're going to double check it here. So we have 46C, 15, 87, 02, 13, 23, 18, 08, 06, and 21 right there. If we needed to, we can also set if they did not finish, did not start, were disqualified, black flagged, and since we're using passing points, this one's pretty relevant. We can also set if they're receiving no passing points at all. We're able to see their times. We're also able to move them around too. So if BJ Buffalo here forgot his transponder, or not forgot his transponder, he would not show up here at all. But if he forgot to charge his transponder, we could actually click and drag him up to where he needed to be. And as soon as we hit save as completed, that's going to update everywhere. So it's going to update across into if you have a MyRacePass website, it'll update there. It'll also update on the MyRacePass app. Again, if you do have any questions about anything here, I'm going to be going through getting into the passing point lineups and how we're going to set up our different passing points here. But if you have any questions specifically, don't be afraid to ask those here. You can either ask those directly to me or to the group. That's Alt and H is going to be the spot for that in that chat there. So don't be afraid to do that. We're going to go right back into the lineups here. We have our A feature lineup set and ready to go. And I'm going to hit calculate right over here. And I don't have it as one of my presets. I should. But here we're going to actually find passing points. So heat passing points. There's a couple of different heat passing point lineups. So there's heat passing points. There's going to be ties to qualifying, ties to low heat. I'm going to use ties to low pill, since that's what they all have pill numbers. So that's going to be an easy split. It's going to say, how is this calculated? And it's going to have this right here based on how I set up my passing point scheme. Now you might be wondering, Devin, how did you set up your passing point scheme? That'd be a great question. So we're going to go over here to settings and point schemes. So for the majority of people, they might know this as the spot where they set up their points and pay for the season. But right up next to this is lineup point schemes. I had one already. So I had ASCS passing points set up as what I wanted to do. If I wanted to do a different one, I could add a scheme here. We have a few global presets already set up. So ASCS, USMTS, WSOTA 1.76 or 2.25. And you can set those up as a global preset. We're also able to just create our own if we wanted to. Let's say we're doing something completely different here. So we're going to do webinar passing points. You can have multiple schemes set up at the same time if you need to. And so what we're going to do is add a breakdown. And it's going to be for the heat. Let's say I just wanted to do a really simple one. So first place gets 20 points. Every position on down is let's say do 1.5 less, and you get 3 points for passing a driver. And if you get passed, you're going to lose a point. When I hit add rows, it's going to go here. I put it in the wrong spot. So we can also adjust this here. But when I hit add rows, if I put it in the right spot, it will actually just decrease that here. So I think it was because I was going to get a negative number. 17 because it was 1.5. But this is going to be the kind of the base positions here. So I can set this to be however I want, even if it's not going to be necessarily the best passing point scheme. This is kind of one I made up on the I made up on the fly. Might also see that if you get passed, you could get negative points here with this scheme. That's okay. We can do that too. So I've set it up here. I could calculate this again, and when it calculates this time, it's going to ask me, since I have multiple passing point schemes, which one I want to use. So we're going to find that up here. Ties the low pill. It's going to give me my 2. We can pick that, and you can see it changed things around. And when I hit this report, it's going to even tell me, like I said, we have negative points. So it's going to set it up here. We also have another report here that you can view that is just the passing points. Same deal. It's going to ask for the different passing points, and it's going to pop this up. This one's going to have a bit more rows here. So it's going to have this available here. So this is how they did that. And this race order here, that's going to be their heat that they were in. The other report didn't show it because it didn't really care. The lineup that I chose didn't really mind what heat they were in. You can see that pill number here if we needed to break any ties, which it didn't look like we got, which is nice. So again, it's going to be the same kind of setup. So we're just going to send them again. They are sent. Here in the assignments path, you're able to just see that right up here. And we can do this race one more time. We'll just do another race. And another thing we have access to here is this lap viewer. So this lap viewer I can share out. I can use the same thing I did with the lineup board. I could have this screen here in my facility at a couple different spots if I wanted to. I've seen it done where they have this at the concessions booth. So people don't get to miss the action. This is also, again, fairly similar to what you see on the MyRacePass app, if you did get the live timing with that. So it's going to go. I set it to go for 10 laps. If I do set a caution, if I set a caution lap, it's going to show me that here. I can move things around. But it's going to show, you see that it did show that it is in a caution. We're going to start them again. It's going to keep everything kind of in row for me. So that's definitely something we could do here. And it's going to go, let's finish this up here. All right, and again, I'm going to show you. It's just right now it's running. So if we go to the results, it's not going to have that popped up. Again, we're just going to make sure that we stop this race here. And when we're on the screen, we make sure it's stopped. And as stopped, we can click on this and double check this this order again. So we do have that order here. Double check it. This looks great. And again, we can save this as completed. If we wanted to wait, we can also click this button here and save it. There's a couple different options here for how we want to save those races. For me though, everything looks good. Nothing wrong here. So we're going to save that. We're going to be able to go into our season long points here. We're going to go into our points and pay for those. Again, I have gotten a few questions here, sort of privately. If you do have any questions, again, hit Alt and H. I'm going to be going over the questions I was asked here. When I get to that here, I'll be opening it up for questions as well. But if you do want me to go over anything again or want me to answer anything, Alt and H is the place to do that. We'll be getting to the question section here very soon, so stay tuned for that. We're going to hit the Add Points and Pay group. Before I started, I actually created a points scheme and a pay scheme for every one of my classes. I'm able to apply this to competitors, owners, or teams. So the main difference between some of these is that this is going to be to the driver. This is going to be to the owner. When I set that owner, it's going to set to that, and that they can get points for multiple cars. So if you ever wanted to do it where, if I own 2 cars in this race, I would get both of their points. This is going to be to teams, which is also going to be to that individual car. So it's going to, but for each of these, we're going to have owners filled out for these sections here in order for it to apply correctly. It doesn't really care about the pay. When I hit a pay owner, that did it. We don't have to worry about that. We're just going to apply everything to competitors here. And right here, this is going to be if we need a driver to not receive points but still receive pay. We can uncheck their name here. We're going to click Add. It's going to go based on how I set up my points and my pay. I can adjust this if I need to, so I can add points, subtract points, or pay. I have these columns here. I can do that in either race. I also am able to create payments, which means that I do have, I can print out checks if I'd want to. I can do that right down here. Just create checks. We'll put in a starting check number. It's going to ask if I understand that it's all valid. I do. For the drivers that I have addresses of, it's going to show down at the bottom. So you see that Harry Hare has an address with me. It also, if I marked him down as pay owner, it is actually going to pay that owner. So it's going to put that down here. We also have different reports that go over a lot of these as well. So the pay report, one that a lot of folks like to use is this points by race. This breaks it out into each race. We also have detailed points, which shows everything that happened, and it has a sign sheet as well. A lot of different reports here, free to use for a lot of different ways there. I have a question about how I set up that points and pay scheme. So you can actually see that right here. Right where I went to for the passing point schemes, it's going to have that point schemes right here. And I'm actually going to go inside of one. It's going to use that same sort of breakdown system here. I can do for both points and payout. And if I wanted there to be show up points or starting points for everyone, I could do it for this right here. So I could have it, if I wanted everyone to receive 10 points, I could. Right now, I actually have it set that if a driver doesn't complete a lap anywhere, they get 10 points here. That's this non-start. I also can adjust it here. So any driver that I have that is ever in the A feature does not receive show up points. So that's a kind of an option that I have here. again, we're going to hit Alt and H. Give me 1 sec here. Also, just wanted to say I'm going to be posting here in the chat a survey that we'd like y'all to fill out. If you fill out that, we actually will have a $200 off of next year's race management drawing on that. So I'm going to have the survey posted here. Either myself or Josh will be posting that here. Again, you get $200 off for race management. You entered into the drawing for $200 off for race management for filling out that part of the survey. So again, do that after this. Don't rush off yet. It's not we're not done, but I did want to let you all know that is something here too. And if you have any questions, Alt and H is this place to do that. I am going to open it up for questions now here. If you have any questions, I had one about how the scanners are utilized. That's going to be in the entry window. You can scan a barcode. So there's a couple of different barcodes that a driver might have access to. So if a driver is got one from a track, we used to give hard cards about the size of a credit card that have a barcode on the back of them, or if they are a Westhold driver or a USRA driver, they might have one, and they might have a barcode that you could scan, and also claiming their profile was the other way, and having it on the app. Those won't interfere with one another either. So if you do that there, that's if a driver does that, has both, it's okay. They are not going to override one another or anything like that. So that would be how to do that. We would just have a scanner hooked up here. We would scan that driver's barcode, and it'll pull that information up right there. So we do have that option there. So we're gonna pop up here. I'm gonna pop that link into our chat. So feel free to fill out this link here. Again, Alt and H, the spot for questions to go to for questions for me, anything that I've gone over here or haven't gone over here, if there's something that you would like to see specifically. Feel free to ask me that. You can ask it to everyone, or there's the option here to select for just me if you'd like. So don't be afraid to ask any of those questions. I'll be leaving it open to here for questions here for the next few minutes here. We also have a variety of different reports. I kind of briefly mentioned that before. So we do have our entry list or our transponder list. So I could have marked those drivers as having rented a transponder, and I have this nice sign out sheet here if you do need that. We also have in our reports. So let's pick one that has a bunch of different races in it. So I'm going to pick this lineup sheet, for example. So with this here, it's going to have kind of everything broken out. If I wanted to do one race per page, I could select this up at the top. I'm also able to print this right up here, change the size of all of this, export it to a PDF if I'd like to, and I can toggle which ones I want to print and which ones I don't. So if I just wanted to print that A feature, we could print that right over here. So we have a lot of different options there, a lot of things we can work with here as far as that goes. Also able to, on quite a few of them, able to see kind of judge things around. So able to sort a couple different ways. So if I just wanted to sort by earnings, I could sort by car number. I also sort by points here too. So I got a question here about the two different Westhold passing point schemes. To be perfectly honest, they're just going to be different rule sets. I believe one is from the past. So there were places that just used them because they just adopted that rule set, and then there's one that they did in the future. Really, that's going to be the difference. And if you do use those passing point schemes, they'll generally let you know which is which. But the main difference, I believe, between the two is the amount of points that get reduced per. So I'll show those off here. Yep. So it's cars per hour is 1.76, and this other one here, if I was to add it in, I believe this is also just going to give, yep, 2.25. Yep. Yep. Josh kind of got that for me here. Yep. Same base points, but just different amounts passed. And the way to also read this too, this will be what they finished as. So this would be if you started first and finished first, you receive 59 points. And if you started second and finished first, you'll get 59 for starting, and then you'd get 2.2. So you'd end up with 61.25 up at the top. Yep. So that's kind of the way to look at that. I believe Josh is checking a question that was sent there about the ASCS points. Again, you can also get pretty creative and create your own passing point schemes. I just have some set here. We're also able to edit the names and delete these extra ones, which I'm going to do. You can have multiple passing point schemes set up in the system. That's totally fine. I'm going to get rid of this weird one that I made here. If you do have multiple, it'll just ask you if you already use any of those lineup schemes. And with the lineups here, if you are using passing points, it is important to make sure that you know how you're breaking ties on those passing points. So the main difference, because you can do the same passing points scheme, but the main difference here, you're going to want to know how ties are going to be broken, whether it's going to be you can do it based on their points. You can do it based on their pill draw. I believe you can also do it based on qualifying. So you can break those ties a lot of different ways, and that'll change how you're doing this here, because it'll have different tiebreakers. We'll do different things. So keep that in mind too. This know what tiebreaker you're using, because yeah, like I said, ties to low pill, ties to qualifying, season points, a lot of different ones here. So low heat. So we have 4 different ones here that you could use the same different scheme there. So again, we have a lot of great questions coming in. Feel free to keep those going. Again, you do have that link in there in the chat, like Google Docs link. We have a pretty quick survey there that you can enter in for the chance to get $200 off for next year. So yeah, oh, yep, and that's an important one. Those global lineups that I showed you, those are sort of presets that anyone can use. You can set that up at any time. Anyone can use those. I recommend just having those set up and in the system before you start racing. Same with the points and pay. Just have that done, before. It's pretty quick to set up and pretty quick to get going. Yeah. Other things too. You do have the announcer screen right over here. So drivers that have claimed their profile, another cool thing they can do is enter in their information. We can also see their results, that how they've done for tonight and across the MyRacePass network. We can even see their points, how they're doing on those points, and leave notes about that driver. You can see that I left a note about my driver here for that. So yep, as Josh has pointed out too, we have a lot of different passing point schemes. The two different WSOTA ones that I showed off, ASTS, USMTS, all those are global point schemes, or you can create your own. The choice is yours on that. Um, Again, I'll be leaving it open for questions here for the next few minutes. Alt and H is the place to do that. You can hit Alt and H, and that will bring up the chat window. Feel free to ask any questions that you'd like about anything I've gone over or anything you feel like you need to know. This time's really for you. So make sure you let us know, and I will answer that question for you. You also have a media format button here too. So if you click this, it'll pop that into the different media format if you need that. So that's another option available for you. Other things here. By the way, these reports right over here, these are going to be for the individual event for the most part. If we need to, we can also go over here to reports. And this will show more, I like to call them big picture reports, if you will. These would be more for the season. So we have like a hard charger report in here, points and pay. We can see the pay by date, points by date. So if we wanted to check how people got the points that they did, we can break that out by schedule. See here. This one's nice because you can export this to Excel. So I have that big total here. I can see kind of what's been going on here with all my points. So a lot of different reports here to help show that information. Kind of keep that shown off there. We're also able to add a class too if I wanted to, right in here. So if I needed to add in a class or remove a class, that's possible. One I get a lot is what happens if a driver shows up late and I've already created lineups. That's totally fine. If we had an entry list already in here, we can just click them into the entry list. I would recommend, since I'm doing pill numbers, I would just start them at the back of all the heats. He's got to not copy one of my transponder numbers, would be nice. So we'll give him a different transponder here. And then when I go into my lineups here, he's going to show up. I could either just click him and that'll pop him into the heat, whichever one I have selected, or or I could recalculate the lineup since I have it set here. So if I have the lineup set, I have him set to be started at the back, and since he is started at the back, he gets that handy icon there. So I have a question about what I would recommend for a computer that could run MyRacePass and Westhold at the same time. In general, I don't try to get into the hardware things as much, but in general, if you have a computer that can run Google Chrome, that's really all you need. If your computer can run Google Chrome nicely, you'll be good to go on the MyRacePass side. I would talk with the folks at Westhold about what they would recommend for Westhold. But that's not really my area, and I don't really feel. I would rather we have them talk to them about what they would recommend for their software. But in general, for MyRacePass, anything that could run Google Chrome, you'll be good to go there. With MRP Live, the transponder integration, the main thing to remember there is you'd have to have a PC for that. Yep, and Josh had has a comment there about MyLapse or Westhold there about that, but don't need anything too powerful. Looks like so pretty light programs. But for MRP Live here, make sure it is a PC. If you try to use this on a Mac, it won't go. So do make sure you do that. Great questions though. I'll be leaving it open here another few minutes. Here that Alt and H is that chat window. Be happy to answer any questions that you have. And again, another I'll post the link there to the survey here one more time because there were a few more questions. So I'll post that down here. You fill out that survey, you'll be entered into the drawing here at the end of March for $200 off for next year's subscription. So I'll send that to to one person privately. I'll send that one to everyone though. Everyone will get that one here. So you do get that. Alt and H is the place to do that. We'll leave it open for a couple more minutes. I'll be doing that. We're also able to remove cars here manually if I wanted to. So wanted to kick this person out. And we can save kind of as lineups or just in pending status. But saving this here, that's going to update it for everybody. So it'll update there. If you do have a website through MyRacePass, it'll actually update there for you too, which is really nice. Saves a lot of time for you. If you have any questions about how to get started doing a website through MyRacePass, let me know. Be happy to help you out with that. We have a great staff here that can get you going on using everything for the website as well as the race management. Other buttons down here on this lineup screen here. Well, here we actually have a invert. We also could do a redraw right down here. So we can invert or redraw right from here. That's not going to be kind of baked into the lineup. We can do that sort of on the fly. We also can do some of the row settings, and we also can allow entries in multiple races. So if we needed to put a driver in more than one heat, for example, we could do that right through here. There's also lineups that'll do that for you too. So if you have any questions about specific lineups too, this is a great place to ask those. I'll be happy to answer anything there for the next few minutes. But excuse me there. And as well with results, I might have mentioned this, but you do have this share button here. Anytime you see that, that's going to be the share button. That's going to share to Facebook and Twitter. So when you click on that, that'll share out to your social media, and you can get that going there. All right. If you do have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us. We're always happy to help out with whatever you need. You also have the sandbox down here. So everything I said about sharing out to the public, sharing out to the app, that does not apply here to the sandbox with this lovely blue color. When you do that, you can kind of create to your heart's content and get ready practicing everything that I've kind of gone over here. So you do have that option available right here. The only thing you can't do is that transponder integration because that's so tied closely with the app. The app wants to broadcast everything out to the world. We want to keep everything. This sandbox here wants to keep it hidden, so it kind of wins that rock paper scissors, I guess, if you will. You also have, in addition to us as a resource, I showed it here at the beginning. This help button here. This will take you to all of the articles that we've written about not only race management, but season management, as well as our tutorial videos and past webinars. If you're interested in viewing any of those, all of those, including this one here, when it's ready, will be available all right there. So right at the touch of a button here. I will be back at it again tomorrow, going through, this one looks like it was Soda specific one tomorrow. And with MyLap's transponder integration, feel free to join even if you aren't a WSOTA track. I'm always happy to answer questions for you. It's nice to learn about all of that. If you are in the Ogilvie area, around Ogilvie Raceway, that's going to be a WSOTA specific one on the 9th. That's also on that page. That'll be Josh there. They'll be doing that. He's in the chat. He's been very great help. Thanks to Josh. And then I'll be back again on the 11th at 5:30. So the week of the 11th, that's going to be the 11th, 12th, 13th, and 13th and 14th. There'll be one there at 5:30 Central Time for you guys as well. So lots more webinars coming up to be announced too. That's going to be me done for the day. If you have any questions, let me know. Feel free to fill out the document there. Again, $200 off for 2020. So feel free to do that, and hope you have a great rest of the day. Looking forward to seeing y'all tomorrow. Yep, and also the support email, support@myracepass.com. Um, get a chat there. So have a good one. Looking to see you all here in the future, and have a great day.